Thanks for checking out this highlight from the Casually Hardcore podcast. If you want to check out the full podcast after the show, please be sure to hit the top link in the description. But now, let's do it. What would you like to see? What would be the innovation that maybe other games that you've kind of like, whether they've hit it on the head or if they're kind of just dancing around it, what would be innovative for you?
I think we need to take a step away from the grindiness. To the guy's point on the Azerite and everything, they did well with Shadowlands, making it less grindy. But I mean, it used to be hours upon hours a week just to keep up with the current content level. Like the Azerite farming was insane. If you wanted to be a top mythic raider, you had to be farming Azerite and doing every single world quest every day. Mm-hmm. Like that's what the upper echelon was doing. And that's just a massive time sink. And then you don't feel like you can get that kind of level. And so I think having more customizability of characters, and so making it a more complex game and a more I don't know the right word for it, but basically making kind of taking a thing out of classic and TBC's playbook, right, where you have X number of talents and you can change a bunch of different things, right? I think the game has progressively gotten more and more simple to try to fit the mainstream narrative, but I think we need a lot of complexity so you can make everything a unique situation and every experience can be different without needing to do some major crazy grind to do it.
So a point for that would be covenants. A point for that would be, let's introduce new skills into the game without doing skill bloat. Let's do a borrowed power system that changes classes at a foundational level that can expire, that is inherently not balanced. And let's just let players play with it. And players may decide not to do the one that's not broken until then Arlaeus comes along and figures out that actually for this one type of content, it is broken. And so like, let's do something like that. I think a point against that is the nerfing of speed sets. I think the fact that we had speed sets in BFA where you had druids that were running in cat form without sprint on faster than flying mounts was them taking items from across multiple expansions and saying, did you know these buffs stack?
That was awesome.
You know they stack to a point that it's broken. And so I think they've got to get back to that. I think they've got to get back to letting people break things, especially letting twinks break things.
That honestly, like as a kid, and you know, I might get flack for this, but as a kid, some of my most fun things to do in Classic WoW was break things. There was a jump you could do in Dead Mines. You walk into Dead Mines, you jump up onto the post, onto the little pipe thing, and you can blink through the wall, and all of a sudden you're in the Outlands, right? Back in Classic WoW. And yeah, sure, exploiting isn't great, and it's not like I do that now, but it's just having the ability to do things that are unique and do things you didn't think that you could do, or pushing limits with the speed test. There's that Demon Hunter too, just like the druids. Like I had a druid myself that was running around farming old content. There's a Demon Hunter with 480% movement speed, jumping through instances and like literally flying through instances by jumping through the wall and then gliding down to the end boss. Like that's wild. That's wild. And having the ability to do things like that or customize your class so that you could do something crazy, I think is a unique part of the game that's fun. I think on the other side, you'll also have those people who cry out that it's broken, right? And that's not
like Torghast was going to be that thing. When Shadowlands was on schedule, it felt like Torghast was going to be this place, this Mage Tower-esque, go have fun and break things. Mm-hmm. And then when they realized Shadowlands wasn't going to deliver full content, they said, let's tune this down to a static number of floors. Let's attach it to your legendary grind. Let's make it part of the mainline content. And as a result, it has to tune itself way, way down. Now, there's a finite number of floors that you need to run every week. And Ian at BlizzCon, at the last BlizzCon we had in person, said like the twisting nether, like the twisting corridors, the ones at the top, he said those are going to just be insane. They're going to be insane for insane's sake. I don't want to hear we're not going to apologize for it. We're not going to nerf it. And we're just going to put it out there like the hardest Mage Tower grinds. And you're just going to be able to just throw your face into it. And I was like, that's awesome. And then they just backpedaled so far from that to what we got. And I enjoy Torghast, but
I love Torghast.
Not like what I like when they first announced it. I was like, let me have a mode where, like, if you don't want me to break things out in the world, give me a tower where when I'm inside there, gravity doesn't have to matter.
Yeah.
Like there are some crazy builds, like rat exploding crazy builds in Torghast, but the runs don't last. You can't greater rift them. You can't run them to what happens if I stay in here? What happens if we just keep letting it get more insane and let me save my progress and come back multiple sessions and let's turn this into an arcade game?
Yeah, and get certain kind of achievements or cosmetic things that that doesn't have any impact on players experiencing the actual game. It's not like you can one shot a boss now, but you have something cool, right? The Mage Tower was awesome for that. The Evan Chill, the Mage Staff, is still my transmog. It is awesome, right? And I think I was so excited for Torghast. And that first week of Torghast, when everybody was trying to push, or the second week, I think when they unlocked 8, maybe it was the third week. Whenever 8 came out, and 8 was so difficult for everybody to do, and everybody was trying to pull it off. That's awesome, right? We need more challenging kind of content like that outside of just grouping up with 20 people and go and try to kill a mythic boss. It needs to be some kind of solo things in addition to the MMORPG.
So another comment from Mini Mitch in this case, and a really interesting point. Their view is the alt unfriendliness of WoW is kind of a huge problem for them. Do you think that an innovation thing, like when we talk about, like, let's say they did do a PSO2 style WoW 2 connection, would you want to see WoW kind of adopt something of one character, multiple classes? Where you can kind of change outside of leveling? Chris, you actually are doing some power leveling today on stream, talking about like the different ways to level an alt in this case. What do you think?
I think people complaining that you can't beat the game multiple times shouldn't be addressed. I think the idea that if I beat Zelda Breath of the Wild and my complaint is they just made it take 10 times as long to beat Breath of the Wild 10 times. Yeah. Like, I think that's where the replayability comes from. So if you speed it up too fast, then you end up with a garrison type system in Warlords of Draenor, where now it becomes a requirement to play multiple. And now having a stable of alts is so powerful and so good that somebody who just wants to come in and play a game as a warrior and be that warrior is being penalized. So I would say, as fun as it sounds to have a stable of alts, the fact that Arleus is having to adjust his schedule to account for his alts because he can't just quickly grind them up, I would say, yeah, that sucks, but that's the cost of protecting something that I don't want from happening.
What do you think,
Arleus? I would agree. When the invasion came out back in, can't remember what expansion this was. I was in college, and it was probably about 2014. So you guys can figure out whatever expansion that was. But I leveled a mage from level 1 to max level in about 3 hours and 20 minutes. And I did it with Recruit a Friend times the 300% XP potion and times the invasions. And the invasion.
Those aren't thing anymore, right? The experience potions?
No.
You still have them. They're in your inventory. You can still have them, but it's a finite number.
Yeah. So you can't do any like crazy stuff like that, which is good. But I think, I'm an altaholic myself, but I actually like the fact that you have to grind up. And it's also a sense of achievement too, like, if we can just have max level characters constantly, I don't know. Personally, I think it's a important part of the game, the leveling process. Now, what I think might be a little bit easier, and what I think that they honestly do pretty well, is the item level adjustments. And so I think one of the big issues that you might have is you end up getting a max level, but now you're stuck 50 item levels behind, and there's no way to get up to that level, right? And so they progressively, give better gear in heroic dungeons, progressively give better gear in mythic dungeon. And so honestly, I think that's probably the best thing that they can do. I think if you start to just normalize your gear on your alts to your max level tune, you're taking away a lot of the progressive content at higher level. And so just being able to at least catch up to like the base level of the current patch, I think is as good as it could get, in my opinion.
Leveling content feels meaningful. If you speed it up, what you end up with is Brian has all of his characters capped in 14. And what you end with is it feels at the time like I can't wait for this to be over. I want this journey to be over. I want to feel that completion. But the moment you get there, right? The moment they make that possible, the moment you cross that finish line, you're immediately subject to AP grinds, item level treadmills. You're subject to all these things because now there's a void before you're applying experience. And so you either have to put a Paragon system in, and then the question is, how do you make that feel meaningful but not game breaking? And so it can't affect the battle system, but if it doesn't affect the battle system, will people engage? And so like it becomes this giant conflicting set of ideas, and leveling doesn't have that. Leveling is you do the thing, you get experience, and we all agree that's fair and nobody's mad about it. But the moment you get past leveling, the moment you get to cap is where the controversy starts. And so the idea that I should be able to get to the point where I don't have any more of the balanced thing anymore and I'm only in the controversy on all my characters, it's a very much like I can't wait till I graduate. Okay, but I promise there's going to be a day when you miss school. I promise. And maybe like I don't miss high school, but I miss college. Now, I'm not saying I want to be stuck in college forever. Like, it's important that we have a graduation date. And I'm glad that time in my life was a thing. I didn't stay in that city. I didn't stay attending that college and I want to work there. I want to be part of that life forever. But like, I'm glad it took the amount of time it did because I cherish it and I always will.
I hope that you really enjoyed that highlight, and I hope that you check out the full podcast. Again, link is in the description. Thanks for being here, and I hope you have a fantastic day, you wonderful, beautiful individual.